it's a gimmick. You know what I'm saying? That's how you do it. I done seen dudes like, man, I thought y'all niggas was crazy.
But he's just like such a hustler. He want to see us hustle on our own and just make our own way.
People was always saying that Justin looked just like Anthony Wolf Jones. Anthony Wolf Jones' mother came and told me the same thing.
That wasn't his former bodyguard, that was his friend. I mean, that was his childhood friend.
BMF was there, Wolf was there. An argument happened over a girl that I guess Wolf was dating and was hanging out with Big Meech and them.
And she was hanging out with another guy that was just hanging out in the crew.
That night, in Atlanta's club Chaos, where it all went down, questions and theories quickly emerged. Some said Wolf was out for blood, clashing with BMF. Others believed that Wolf had a price on his head and that Diddy might have been the one holding the bill.
I think Wolf and his cousin left out, and when they came outside, they said he got the shooting, and unfortunately, he lost his life.
What if Wolf's downfall wasn't just about BMF? Could it have been the secrets he held about Diddy, secrets too explosive to be left alone? Wolf knew every corner of Diddy's dark side, and as the tension built, it said he was just one conversation away from blowing it all open. Did Diddy really push his friend into the line of fire that night? Anthony Wolf Jones wasn't just another bodyguard. Growing up alongside Diddy, Wolf had his back before Bad Boy Entertainment even existed. He was there for the highs and the lows, and more importantly, he knew things that made him valuable but dangerous. Anthony Wolf Jones was born on February 20th, 1965 in the Bronx, New York, raised by his mother Barbara Jones. Since his father wasn't around, Wolf had a tough but loving upbringing. His mom, a teacher, did everything she could to give him and his two younger brothers a good start. They went to private school during the weekend. On Saturdays, Barbara homeschooled them. They lived in a part of the Bronx known as the Valley, a rough neighborhood that shaped Wolf's reputation. While many thought he got his nickname Wolf from his street presence, it actually came from a much more innocent source during his childhood. His best friend Troy and Troy's sister Tammy started calling him Wolf based on the character Eddie Monster from the 1960s TV show The Monsters.
Now, you wouldn't want Wolf to see you crying, would you?
Heck, what do you think he's doing?
They poked fun at his prominent widow's peak and his resemblance to Eddie. His little brother Taryn, known as Little Wolf, was very close to him. As Wolf entered his teenage years, he formed a tight-knit group with friends from his neighborhood. They called themselves the Valley Mob and became known in the Bronx for being tough guys who could handle themselves in a fight, despite dabbling in the streets. Wolf still graduated from Harry S. Truman High School in 1983 and went on to attend Bronx Community College. He tried to juggle different jobs while pursuing his degree, working at the United States Postal Service and later in construction. However, being a college student with a 9-to-5 job wasn't bringing in enough cash, so Wolf hit the streets with his Valley Mob crew to make money. Unfortunately, this decision led Wolf straight to prison after a beef with a rival crew resulted in him catching an attempted charge in the early 1990s. After spending only a few years in prison, he was released in early 93, a year of significant progress, not just for Wolf, but also for a young music industry and are trying to make his mark. Shaw Puffy Combs. Wolf and Puffy were already acquainted before Wolf went to prison, and by the time he got out, Puffy was starting to make a name for himself in the music business. Puffy was working under Andre Harold at the legendary Uptown Records, playing a major role in successful projects like Joe DC, Forever My Lady, and Mary J. Blige. What's the 411?
Mary J. Blige and Father MC. And all put together by first this man in the middle here, and then he passed it on to, I guess, his son, Protege. Yes.
However, Puffy's success led to some clashes with Uptown CEO Andre Harrell. By early 1993, Puffy was fired from the label. Being dropped put Puffy in a deep depression and made him question his future in music. Luckily, friends from Harlem and around the way supported him financially as he tried to stay afloat and build his empire. But Puffy still needed more money to promote his two most prized assets, Craig Mack and the Notorious Big. This is where his relationship with Wolf would come into play. After his release from prison, Wolf went into business with two of his close friends, Buck and Elle, they started a party company called Butt Naked Holding. Events all up and down the East Coast, including at Puffy's alma mater, Howard University in Washington, D.C. However, it was said that this was just a front for their real business, coke distribution. Wolf, along with Buck and Elle, decided they wanted to be early investors in Bad Boy Records, giving Puffy hundreds of thousands of dollars to cover the cost of jump-starting the label. Another friend, D. Ferg, the father of A$AP Ferg, helped design the iconic Bad Boy Records logo. Their investment paid off big time once Biggie was featured on the hit Supercat song Dolly, My Baby, along with his own solo single Party and Bolsh T from the 1993 film Who's the Man soundtrack. Things started looking up. Wolf began spending more time with Puff, and their bond grew stronger, almost like brothers. Bad Boy Records was gaining traction in the music industry. And in 1994, things took a major leap forward. Puff signed a lucrative 50/50s distribution deal with music mogul Clive Davis and Arista Records. This deal catapulted Bad Boy into one of the most popular labels in rap, especially after the release of Craig Max's hit song Flava in Ya Ear, followed by its star-studded remix and Biggie's legendary Ready to Die music album. Bad Boy was officially a powerhouse in the music industry. Wolf became head of security at Bad Boy, but he was more than just a bodyguard. He was muscle, someone Puff respected for his street reputation. Wolf was very protective of Puff, always on point when it came to any type of threat. Soon, Bad Boy would need a soldier like Wolf more than ever. On November 30th, 1994, the seeds of a major conflict were planted. Tupac was ambushed in the lobby of Quad City Studios by 3 armed men, leading to him being shot 5 times. The story goes that Tupac was in New York City doing guest appearances while awaiting trial on the case. Tupac started questioning why his co-defendants, accused of the same crime, were getting lesser charges and way less jail time. This was a dangerous move because one of the people he was speaking of was a well-known Brooklyn gangster named Haitian Jack. Jack called up another notorious New York gangster, Jimmy Henchman, and together they came up with a plan to set up Tupac at Quad City Studios. Tupac called out Jimmy Henchman and Haitian Jack for being behind the setup. From the outside, it looked like the situation had nothing to do with Biggie, Puffy, or Bad Boy Records. But according to Tupac, they knew exactly what was going to happen to him that night and didn't warn him, which he saw as a betrayal. He was cool with Puff and best friends with Biggie, so this felt like a massive stab in the back.
Second, rap star Tupac Shakur died last night after a brief life in a rough business.
Tension between Diddy and Tupac Shakur grew after a major fallout that nearly cost Tupac his career. Tupac was initially set to sign with Bad Boy Records, but pulled out at the last minute. After that, Tupac told Biggie Smalls not to trust Puff, which didn't sit well with the Bad Boy camp. Just weeks after being shot, Tupac was sent to the Ballou Hospital jail ward, before ultimately being sentenced to 4.5 years in prison, eventually heading to Clinton Correctional Facility in New York. While locked up, Tupac gave an interview to writer Kevin Powell for Vibe magazine. In that interview, he vowed to take revenge on Puff, Biggie, and anyone tied to Bad Boy once he got out of prison.
Let me say, me and Tupac were friends. And me and him were friends. I had nothing against Tupac.
But Tupac wasn't the only one making waves at the time. Suge Knight, CEO of Death Row Records, was also a major part of the drama. Despite the idea that Puff and Sh were mortal enemies, there was a time when they were actually cool with each other thanks to a guy named Anthony Wolf Jones who was connected to Shug. The two moguls got along. Wolf introduced Puff to Sh at a club called The Tunnel in New York City. At one point when Puff would fly out to Ashok would even pick him up from the airport. But like many business relationships in the music industry, their friendship soon soured. The two got into a feud over dominance in the music industry, money, and even women. The rivalry reached its peak during the 1995 Source Awards in New York City, where Biggie took home multiple awards that night. Suge Knight made a speech on stage that seemed to disrespect Puff Daddy, which only intensified the tension between the East Coast and West Coast artists.
they breathed new life in me. And Thug Life not only became a rap group, but it became a way of life for life for me. Because they disrespected me, my name, my family.
However, Puff later claimed that Suge's remarks weren't aimed at him, but at another producer, Jermaine Dupri. But things didn't calm down. Fast forward to September 1995 at Jermaine Dupri's birthday party in Atlanta, where Sh and Puff were both invited that night, would go down in history. For a tragic reason, Shug's bodyguard Jake Robles was uniffed, according to eyewitnesses. The fight started when Sh slapped Jermaine Dupri in the club. Afterward, Sh confronted Puff about money related to some of his artists, leading to a physical altercation. The fight was broken up, but minutes later, gunshots rang out and Jake was uniffed. Suge used Puff as a human shield when shots were fired at him, which only escalated the ongoing feud between Death Row and Bad Boy. This tragic night marked a turning point in the East Coast-West Coast rivalry, ultimately contributing to the violent deaths of both Tupac and Biggie. Following Tupac's death, Wolf, who was Puff's right-hand man, warned him that they needed to move differently. Biggie was getting death threats and mysterious calls, but in February 1997, Puff ignored Wolf's advice and took Biggie to Los Angeles for his Life After Death promotional tour. Wolf had a bad feeling about this and told Puff he was putting Biggie in danger. Unfortunately, Wolf's premonition came true after attending a Soul Train Music Awards after-party hosted by Vibe magazine and Quincy Jones. Biggie was shot 4 times.
Any artists out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the video, all on the record, dancing.
Wolf and Puff nearly fell out over Biggie's death. Wolf wasn't happy with how Puff handled the situation, but despite their issues, he stayed loyal to him. Watching Bad Boy Records rise to dominance in the late 90s, the label produced hit singles, sold millions of albums, and became a powerhouse in the music industry. Meanwhile, Puff was expanding his empire beyond music, diving into various business ventures, and spending more time in Atlanta making new connections. It was during this period that Wolf introduced Puff to Big Meech and the Black Mafia family, BMF, one of the top drug organizations in the U.S. Wolf opened the doors to BMF in Atlanta, giving Puff serious street connections. However, juggling both worlds would eventually backfire on Puff. He had an ongoing beef with a Brooklyn shooter and gangster named Matthew Scar Allen, which led to shootouts at a party in New York. While Puff was with his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez, bystanders got shot, and Wolf was facing life in prison due to attempted unaliment charges from the early 90s. Puff, being too valuable to the music industry, couldn't go down for these charges, so the blame fell on his new artist Jamal Shine Barrow. Leading up to the trial, Puff cut off all contact with Shine and refused to help him pay for his legal defense.
He was only 24 years old, was just starting what was expected to be a promising career in music, but tonight it's only what could have been.
When Shine shot the music video for his hit single Bad Boys, Puff was nowhere to be seen, but Wolf was front and center, showing his support. Wolf didn't agree with how Puff was handling Shine's situation, causing tension between them. After the trial, Wolf began to see Puff differently, feeling it was time to move on from Bad Boy and start his own venture. At a birthday party thrown by Jennifer Lopez for Puff in Mimes Club 312, Wolf met Mike Sally, the brother of former NBA player John Sally. They talked about going into business together and buying the club, which made Wolf feel ready to cash out his investment in Bad Boy. Wolf asked Puff for $300,000 he had initially invested, but Puff stalled, causing the deal to fall through and adding to Wolf's growing resentment.
It's not a matter of, turning your back on me. Like, how do you call a witness to testify against your comrade?
Late 2002, tensions between Wolf and Puff reached a boiling point. Wolf aggressively confronted Puff about the money at the Bad Boy offices, and things nearly turned physical. According to another one of Puff's bodyguards, Puff told Wolf he no longer needed his protection because he had Big Meech and BMF backing him. Wolf felt disposable, but he still maintained ties with Southwest T, another BMF member. In any case, from the early days of Bad Boy to the explosive feud with Death Row Records, Wolf was known for doing Diddy's dirty work. As a protector and enforcer, he had a reputation in the industry, fearless, loyal, and sometimes deadly. But by the time he was shot in 2003, his life was far more complicated than just loyalty. He had connections to BMF, a group led by the notorious Big Meech, and here's where it gets murky. Friends say he was stuck in the middle between Diddy and BMF, and rumors started to swirl. Had his loyalty to Diddy come with a price? The Black Mafia family, led by Demetrius Big Meech Fenner, was a name that struck fear across Atlanta's underworld, known for drug and an influence that spread from the streets to high society. BMF was respected and feared eventually have to have a bond hearing. There were cameras everywhere. It was a scene. Wolf's connection to BMF was complex. As a bodyguard and friend of Diddy, he was associated with some of the biggest players in the hip-hop world. But his relationship with Big Meech grew sour. Reports hint at betrayals, money owed, and even a mutual disdain that threatened to explode. According to insiders, Wolf and Big Meech started as allies. But as BMF's influence grew, so did tensions. Diddy and Wolf both had reputations that clashed with BMF's ambitions. And before long, Wolf became a liability. In October 2003, Wolf threw a party at his Atlanta home, attended by BMF members including Meech and Terry. He even vouched for an old Brooklyn shooter friend to join BMF, which led to tragic consequences. On November 11, 2003, at Club Chaos in Buckhead, Wolf and his right-hand man Lamont Rez Jurdy crossed paths with Meech and other BMF members. Tensions rose over a woman Wolf was involved with, leading to a fight and their ejection from the club outside. Wolf and Rez confronted Meech and another BMF member, and a gunfight ensued. Initially, Wolf and Ree had the upper hand, but their old Brooklyn friend, now part of BMF, turned on them, seeking to prove his loyalty to Meech. He gunned down Wolf and Ree, unliving them both on the spot. The story of that night is where the controversies begin. I think Wolf and his cousin left out and when they came outside and say he got the shooting. And unfortunately, he lost his life. Some believe this fight was simply a culmination of beef between BMF and Wolf, but others suggest that Wolf might have been targeted by someone much closer to home. Could Diddy have been the one pulling the strings that night? In the days following Wolf's death, rumors swirled that Diddy might have played a part. Insiders claimed that Diddy had reasons to get rid of Wolf, and money was a factor. Allegedly, Diddy owed Wolf a significant sum of money that could have been life-changing if Wolf had decided to expose what he knew. But it wasn't just about money. Wolf was one of the few who knew Diddy's secrets, including alleged shady dealings that Diddy had spent years keeping under wraps. As a longtime confidant, Wolf was close to the truth, too close. Was this enough to set Wolf up? Or was it simply about self-preservation? Some say Diddy orchestrated the events, knowing BMF and Wolf were already on edge, hoping to push Wolf into a confrontation he couldn't escape. Meanwhile, Wolf's mother spoke out, revealing that Puff paid for Wolf's funeral, but treated her son as if he barely knew him. She pressed Puff about the $300,000 he owed Wolf, but Puff dismissed it, claiming Wolf had delusions of grandeur. Wolf left behind 5 children, and rumors persisted that he was the real father of Puff's first son, Justin Conholmes. In fact, in the year of Wolf's passing, Justin, Misa's son, was merely 10 years old. Surprisingly, Diddy remained seemingly distant from Justin's life. A glimpse into the past reveals that in 2006, Misa sought child support from Diddy, a move met with resistance as Diddy appealed in court, refusing financial responsibility for Justin. The details surrounding when Justin began residing with Diddy remain a bit murky. What is apparent, however, is that Diddy's involvement in Justin's life appear limited.